Welcome back, everybody, all the kings, queens, and everything in betweens, to another episode of the Peasant Party Podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte Warren, coming to you live from Austin, Texas, and I'm super fired up to introduce two fantastic guests here today. I'm going to let them take it away. Where do we start? We've got Drinking Buddy in the house. Jacqueline, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So I'm Jacqueline Wilder, and this is my husband, Brian Wilder, and we are the co-founders of Drinking Buddy.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't add much else than that for an intro. Yeah, Brian Wilder, co-founder of Drinking Buddy, and we are super excited to be here.
I'm super excited. How does it feel to be on what's technically a dating podcast? This is our first podcast appearance. So.
You know what? It's somewhat fitting. We run the business together, but we did meet here in Austin almost 3 years ago. So, and working together with your wife, building a business, there's definitely going to be some overlap between dating and
for sure,
and running a business. So
totally, partners and partners.
Exactly, partners and partners.
And we're like the true Austin love story. We met on Hinge during the pandemic, had the walks around Town Lake. So I feel like it's very fitting. We've been through it all and kind of seen it. So
I love it.
Relatable.
I love it. Before we go into that, because I definitely want to go into your love story, can you tell us what is Drinking Buddy? And I'll model some Drinking Buddy right here. We've got the hats. What is Drinking Buddy?
Yeah, perfect. So, Drinking Buddy is an all-natural supplement that you take with your last drink. It's loaded with an enzyme called DHM. And what DHM does is it helps your body metabolize alcohol. And helps your body metabolize alcohol. There's also properties in there that helps protect your liver while you're drinking. So it's twofold. You get liver protection and repairs your liver from alcohol damage. Helps your body metabolize alcohol so that you can have a few drinks and be good to go the next morning.
Nice.
In short, it helps prevent the hangovers. So we like to say it makes you feel about 50% better the next day when you take it before bed.
Nice. So it's the hangover pill. Everybody's been looking for the hangover pills.
Yes.
Nice.
It is the hangover pill. We do have to curb expectations because Austin is a drinking town. Some people take it to extreme levels. But yeah, exactly. It is a hangover pill that'll get you going the next morning.
Nice. Well, yeah, love that. I've definitely had some like bed rot mornings after some nights out.
Totally.
And it becomes more and more of that as I get older too, which is
the inspiration for why we made Drinking Buddy. Nobody's getting any younger, and the hangovers seem to get worse somehow.
So,
you know?
I could not agree more. Which is why I'm looking forward to trying these, but I feel like I'm just like drinking so much less now because it's just like so brutal. Like the hangover, they're not just a one-day thing anymore. They're a multi-day endeavor, for lack of a better way to put it. So I guess the story behind Drinking Buddy. How did you kind of have the inspiration to start Drinking Buddy? Like, was there a catalyst event type thing, or?
It was an accumulation of a few things. So I have always been interested in supplements, nootropics. I have my, cocktail of pills that I take before going to bed. Always looking for something to give me a boost of energy, focus, increased memory, et cetera, et cetera. Have always been interested in supplements. 10 plus years ago, I stumbled across a hangover prevention drink. It was in a 8-ounce kind of a Red Bull format. Tried it, loved it, it worked. I felt better after a night of a few drinks. And it had always been in the back of my mind that there's no true market leader in this space, especially when it comes to hangovers. Everybody has their own remedy, whether it's, slamming a Gatorade or their greasy cheeseburger the next morning. Everybody has their thing they go to. But there's no true leader out there in the space. And so I think a combination of using some products in the past, finding some ingredients that have worked for me, and realizing that there's no, true leader out there. It was an opportunity to create a product, and the hangover product, Drinking Buddy, I saw as the answer.
Nice.
And I'll chime in here, but this has always been Brian's dream job to start this. And whenever we first got together, I feel like you were talking about this all the time and going on and on about what if we did this? And it kind of just hit a breaking point. It's either you need to stop talking about it or we need to go manufacture and make this product. So that kind of...
Yeah, exactly. I was very much an idea person until Jacqueline came along and was like, hey, are we going to do this or not? You've been talking about it a bunch. The resources that are out there, let's make it happen.
Nice. And how was the experimentation of it? What was and I hope I'm asking the right question here, but
Yeah.
was there ever an experience of trying to convince your friends to try this mysterious pill you put together, like kind of like almost like semi Walter White feeling experience, or?
Yeah, short answer is yes and no. It was more of taking a look at some other products that are out there, trying those, piecing together what are the main ingredients that are like underlying the same ingredients in all of these different formulas that are out there, trying some different concoctions on a few different occasions, and doing a bunch of reading on the different ingredients in the solution. So because of the way you go about making a product, you don't really have an opportunity to get a, what am I trying to say? You get one shot at it, right? Like once you've done your research and you send your ingredients into the manufacturer, they're going to send you a finished product. So you can go about testing the product in a variety of different ways, but until you get the final bottle sent back to you, that's the true test. And luckily we hit the nail on the head. We have a great formula.
Totally.
But to your point of like Walter White, kind of like pushing pills type scenario, when we first started, we needed to get the product out there. We'd only manufacture the bottle. This is before we had manufactured single serves.
Yeah.
So we were actually putting little pills into these like little clear baggies. And Brian ordered these stickers online that had some like really rough 1, 2, 3 steps on how it's going to work. And we went out to West 6th Street.
The jankiest looking packages, by the way,
We had a backpack of these pills, and
goodness.
we were handing them out to people at a bar. And I remember this one girl was like, you know what? I really like you, but I'm not going to take a pill from a stranger. And I was like, you know what? Fair, valid.
Yeah, totally
So,
understandable.
We've had our moments when we first started like 2 years ago. We now have some more legitimate sampling that come from the manufacturer, but that definitely was trying to get people to try it was a little shady, I think, in the beginning.
I can imagine. That sounds like a pretty funny story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, walking up to a random person at a bar like, hey, you want to
some
try
pills?
these pills? Yeah, they're like,
That's so funny.
leave us alone.
Yeah.
That's so silly. Wait, so kind of as Drinking Buddy was taking off, like what were both of your roles in kind of launching the business? It sounds like we're Walter Whiting in the kitchen, but
Totally.
what kind of roles did you play in each of those steps? And who was kind of who's the brains, who's the chemist? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I would say I was more focused on kind of the operational side of things and coming up with the concoction, coming up with the formula. And then you can't just come up with the formula. You got to have packaging and name and branding and all these things. And Jacqueline has a background in design. And so that was her, I would say that was her forte. That was her focus in coming up with the fonts, the coloring, the bottle, how it's going to look, all these different things. So I guess to break it down simply, I would kind of manage like the operational side, finding manufacturers, discussing costs, etc. And Jacqueline was hands deep in the design of
looks
everything.
Great. Like I love the font. It's very clean. It's easy to read. Like the hats look great. The colors are good.
Thank
Totally.
you.
Big fan.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a community project of sorts. Like a lot of our friends have come in and helped out with like the designing of the label. Getting the logo was like a bunch of us kind of putting our heads together and figuring it out. And even like last minute, we had the name Drinking Buddy as is. And my friend Kevin like popped a little handle on the U. So
I love it.
yeah, it definitely was like everyone kind of had a hand in it.
Definitely been a lot of help along the way.
Nice. And if someone wants to find Drinking Buddy, where can they find Drinking Buddy now? Because I feel like I've seen just being in Austin, some like sponsorships at events or tabling, boothing and stuff like that. I've recognized the ads when y'all reached out to me. But if someone near or far wants to get Drinking Buddy, what do they have to do?
Yeah, so we are selling online currently. We're not in any retail locations, so we are sold on Amazon. Check us out at drinkingbuddy.com. And then if you want to follow us on the socials, Drinking Buddy Brand on
Nice.
Instagram and TikTok.
Nice. And do y'all have any incentives, discounts, anything you want to call out?
Yeah, I guess a handful of things. If you follow us, you'll get a direct message from Jacqueline or me, thanking you for the follow, and we'll send a little code, good morning for your first purchase to get a discount off. We also do have an affiliate program. So if people go to our website, they can find the affiliate program. We're starting to see a lot more success with that, with people who try the brand, they like the brand, and they want to promote it themselves. And so they're getting more involved in our affiliate program where they will get their own unique promo code that they can push out to their social networks and their customer gets a discount, and then whoever's promoting the product gets a little bit of a kickback too with that affiliate program.
Nice. That's awesome. And I feel like those like for this type of product, like influencer marketing, like that kind of thing, like works really, really well.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's been a mix. The marketing has been a mix of a few different things, but influencers are hot right now. They're a great route to go.
Totally. And anything else coming up? Like, are y'all going to be at any events coming up, tabling, anything like that you're looking forward to?
What's the event you sent me today?
The SKU event.
Yeah,
The
SKU
CPG
event.
Wake Up.
Yeah, CPG Wake Up. They host those. It seems like every other week they're hosting those. There's a host of different CPG, consumer packaged goods events in Austin. So we'll have a booth there, and it's really kind of it's a way to get the product out, but it's also more of a meeting of the minds with other entrepreneurs in Austin who have CPG brands. So those are the main areas where you can see us. Randomly on a Tuesday night, you might see Jacqueline and me out at a bar handing out some legitimate samples now.
Nice.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities in Austin. It's been tough to kind of narrow our focus because you can get your hands in so many different areas that it has been a challenge to try and stay focused on what marketing lanes do we want to be staying in.
Oh, 100%. And there's so much to do in Austin because it's very busy city and a big drinking city, I would say as well. So you're in the right place, I'd imagine.
100%, yeah. And we have South by Southwest coming up. The Super Bowl is this coming weekend. Lots going on.
I'll be bringing this to the Super Bowl party. I love that. It's an awesome story. And yeah, like I think that it really parlays into, well, I guess we're using some sports metaphors, into kind of the next things I wanted to ask y'all. Partners and partners. Y'all met here in Austin. I know there's a lot of people, like if you go on TikTok, you see dating in Austin and people just kind of, groaning, rolling their eyes. And I think it's just because there's so many people, there's so much going on that like people have a hard time kind of meeting people because there's so many options.
Totally.
And y'all are a success story, like not just, meeting in Austin, but, meeting over the dating apps. Start from the beginning on what your kind of love story is and what that looked like.
Do you want to kick it off or do you want me to?
Why don't you kick it off?
So I moved to Austin in 2019. I ended up meeting Brian in 2020. But I'll say before meeting Brian, I feel like you have to go on a million dates before you find the right person. I remember walking Town Lake with a girlfriend too, and at so many points you're like, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to find someone. And then I went on the first date with Brian. It kind of all changed after that. It kind of gives you hope, but it does feel like it's not going to happen for so long until it does.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. I think everybody knows that. I think one of the things we had going for us is that COVID was still kind of a thing when we were trying to, when we
height of 2020.
Yeah, we met at the end of 2020, and the only place you're going to meet somebody, you're not meeting anybody at a bar. Like if you could go out, but people hung with their group of friends that they went with. So you're not meeting people out at the bars. The dating apps were the only way to meet people. And like Jacqueline said, luckily we had a good first interaction. We kept our drinks under control that first meet, and the rest is history.
But 2020 was awkward. It was when you were still dating people back then. You kind of had to ask, are you okay going out to meet at a bar? Do we have to go on a walk? Can we get a drink? What's your level of comfort? So we ended up meeting at a bar. We ended up sitting outside.
It's December, by the way.
Yeah.
It was
cold,
50 degrees outside. Yeah. I thought we were going to sit inside, so I didn't wear the proper shoes. And I remember at the end of it, I think I called it early and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm freezing. I have to go. But I had liked him enough to see him again.
Nice. Did y'all do a FaceTime date or anything before then? Or how long did you spend chatting before you said, let's do a date?
It was all through the app. We exchanged numbers at some point, but we never had a conversation until I called you to change the bar location 10 minutes beforehand.
But I hated that when you're on the dating apps and people would try to get too pen pally with you, and you're like, are we gonna go out or not? So I don't know. I was never really into the FaceTime dates. It was so
That's a good
cringy.
point. It was let's
are
chat on the app.
No?
Are we compatible? Cool. Let's meet.
Yeah. And wait, where was the first date?
The first date was at Bolden Acres.
Oh, nice. I love that. Good
on
spot.
South Lamar.
Yeah.
Great spot.
Great
Yeah.
spot. No, I love Bolden Acres. Yeah, that's an awesome spot. And then, yeah, so and it was cold that day. Not long after that, that was like the big Texas freeze. Were you guys together going on
Totally.
dates at that point?
That's kind of wild.
Helped solidify the relationship even more. Yeah,
It was Valentine's Day, and we were supposed to like do this whole thing and go out, and then the snowstorm kind of hit that day. So Brian ended up coming over. He had never seen any of the Harry Potter movies, which I thought was so weird. So we kind of started a
I'd
marathon.
seen two. I'd seen like 2.5 of them.
Yeah, which I don't know.
It's
I
not
feel like
my thing.
we're in the Harry Potter era though. That was like weird. So our plan was to watch all the movies. He came over. Freeze ended up happening, and then Brian didn't leave my house for like 7 days.
Oh, yeah, because like you couldn't get anywhere.
No.
You were stuck.
Yeah.
Well, in my place, I mean, my power was going off. It was going on. No hot water. And so, yeah, at some point I grabbed a bag,
Nice.
threw a bag together and went over to Jacqueline's and was there for, I don't know, a week.
Whole week, yeah.
Nice.
From Harry Potter to 7 days later.
Nice. And when did you guys make it kind of official after that first meeting? Like, were you all officially together by that point?
When was the freeze? Was that before? It happened the night of the Super Bowl. I remember that.
So like earlier that month.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was whenever the Super Bowl was in 2021. We went to a friend's house, watched the Super Bowl, and then, when you hang out with somebody for a little bit and you're both kind of feeling like,
Where are you going with
where are we going? Are we going to keep hanging out, or are we going our separate ways? Because we're just buddies at this point, right? So yeah, it was at that point where I was like, hey, you want to awkwardly make this a thing, be official, exclusive, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that was just like a month or two after we had met. So
our timeline was pretty crazy. It took you like 3 months to ask me to be your girlfriend.
oh yeah,
Then it took him
I know
another.
where this is going. That's why I said, oh yeah.
Then it took him like another 6 months after that to say I love you. But then it was only 6 months after that and we were engaged. So Brian kind of staggered these in a very weird way, but it all worked out.
I did. Yeah, I did hold off on the I love you for
A long time.
what I thought was an appropriate amount of time, but apparently everybody has different expectations. But yeah, then it moved fast after that.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no right or wrong order or answer. Like
No.
sometimes like certain steps like take longer than others for some people. And not to go back too far because we'll jump ahead. But when you guys matched on Hinge, was there anything that you remember about one another's profiles? Like, was there a magic bullet prompt answer or a picture that really stood out or an interest that caught your eye about one another?
Yeah, the pictures for me, obviously. Why is that funny? And then, funny enough, the fact that she went to Notre Dame, I don't know. I do know why. I was just like, okay, good girl. I know this is a good girl. She went to Notre Dame. I come from an Irish Catholic family, raised in that world. I would have loved to go to Notre Dame. Did not have the grades. But growing up in an Irish Catholic household, you watch the movie Rudy. Notre Dame is like that, the Catholic college to go to. And so I remember seeing that and being like, cool, I love this.
Nice.
That was one thing that stood out.
I don't know why term good girl makes me cringe.
Good.
I hate that.
Not in like a, good girl, like just period.
Yeah. All right. We'll roll with that. I'm trying to think your profile. I kind of remember you had terrible photos. Probably because you didn't have many photos of yourself.
Yeah, but that should have been a good sign.
Most
Yeah.
men don't. Like I feel like it's every man's profile from what I could remember, it was like they were rushing a frat or something like
Yeah,
that.
totally.
Because y'all don't take pictures of yourselves. Like women, it's like your hair looks good. You're going to brunch. Like take my
Right.
picture.
Exactly.
Totally.
And I'm going to say that's a plus because if a guy's profile is too polished, photos are done, like if it's too clean,
Questionable.
then it is questionable.
Yeah,
I will say that.
It's kind of like how'd this happen? Like unless you're in some sort of field where I don't know, realtors always seem to have good pictures for example.
Sure.
But, like,
Totally.
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's Yeah. Do you remember like the first like message y'all sent one another? Any like cringy openers or any fun like
gosh.
that, or just pretty
You
normal?
said something about me going to Notre Dame, making a comment about that.
Did I? I
Yeah.
honestly, I have zero recollection of the messaging back and forth.
Yeah, but then I don't really remember much after that. But we kind of went from like texting on the apps to meeting in person.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah, relatively quick.
Yeah.
I also remember we went out, and then you mentioned like your birthday was the next day
My birthday was going to be the next week.
or next week.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was like the next day.
Yeah. And I do remember at the end of the first date, Jacqueline saying she doesn't like small talk on text, which I totally understand because when you're first starting to meet somebody, you have to you don't want to over communicate, but you don't want to under communicate. It's like playing that game, which I hate. I hate it so much. But I just remember thinking, because we met before like the week before Christmas. So Jacqueline was going to go home with to see her family. I was going to be going home to see my family in Dallas, and she was like, I don't like small talk, whatever. And I was like, okay, so every message I send her, text, it needs to be something more interesting than how is your day going, but also not what's the word I'm looking for? Too
like boring, or you have not?
No, too involved, like too
familiar?
too complicated,
Okay.
too complicated of a question because it is a text.
Totally.
So, yeah.
I just didn't. I feel like some people you'd meet them, and the next thing you know, you're getting like good morning texts, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that's freaking weird.
Yeah, the good mornings are, I feel like, reserved for someone you're more like. There are people
Yeah.
who get too familiar too quickly, or they try to throw like pet names, and then
Totally.
it's like, whoa,
Totally.
give you a nickname you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no good mornings.
no.
Till like we're married, maybe.
And even then,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
No, and that's awesome. Like I feel like you hear a lot of people like groaning about Hinge, and it's always cool to see like the success
Yeah.
stories that come from it. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then of course y'all are here married today. You're still together. You're married.
Yeah.
What is the proposal story like? You know what did that look like? Was that here in Austin?
It was here in Austin, so we were living separately, obviously, and then at a certain point, I think we both had the feeling, but maybe they had not talked about, taking this to the next level of an engagement. No, I'm sure we had. Like I knew Jacqueline was going to be the one for me, but for whatever reason in my mind, I didn't want to live together until we were engaged. And just because of the way leases were lining up and logistical crap, we ended up moving in together, and maybe I was moving in, so it was like days.
You had
just
like a
few days.
2-week overlap on your lease between your lease ending and then moving in with me.
Right.
And I remember he was like moving his stuff in so slow. To the point where it was like kind of annoying. I'd go to help him move some stuff, and he'd be like, no, I'm just going to take like one bag. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
Can we just get it all in the car and over to my place?
I was moving out over like a week, 2 weeks time period.
But what I didn't know was you were waiting to propose to like move the rest of your stuff in.
Sort of, yes. The main piece was getting the ring, because like the ring, it takes forever to get the thing made. And so once I had the ring, I had it for like 5 days, and then Jacqueline travels a little bit for work.
No, I was getting.
I know this unrelated, but you do travel a little bit for work, but you had travel plans to be in court in Philly. And so if I didn't propose on the date that I did, she was going to be up in Philly in a stressful situation with court. And
Right,
so
just to clarify, I'm not a lawyer. I was getting sued for a fender bender.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So it was awful.
Oh, that's awful.
it was an annoying situation that, well, I was going to say is behind us, but
It's not.
it's not entirely. So I was like, hey, to celebrate us moving in together, Jacqueline had also just gotten a new job. So I was like, let's go out to Uchi, celebrate us moving in together, you earned a new job, et cetera, et cetera. And Jacqueline was leaving the next day to go to court. And she texted me earlier in that day. She's like, I'm so stressed, so exhausted. need to pack, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, like we have to go on this date to Uchi. Because I need to propose to you. So I went over to her house to pick her up for the date, and
By the way, it's a Tuesday night.
Nice.
it's a Tuesday
the
night.
good happy hour at Uchi on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
They do, yes.
Great happy hour.
And the one thing I also want to do was surprise her with the proposal. So I thought Tuesday night, great. She thinks we're going to dinner for celebrating her job and us moving in together. So I went over to her place, knocked on the door, which I don't typically do. It's more of like, hey, I'm here. And she's like, the door's unlocked. Come on in. And I'm kind of just like puttering on the outside, waiting for her to.
He's like knocking on the door. I'm like yelling down, come in, it's unlocked. He's not coming in. And I'm like, what is he doing?
Yeah. And then, long story short, she comes downstairs. I give her this short little, sweet talk of, so glad I met you, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what I
You're
said.
such a good
And
girl.
then I dropped,
I'm kidding.
you're such a good girl. I'm
joking.
so glad you went to Notre Dame. And then I dropped to a knee, and I don't know. I blacked out after that.
I can imagine.
And she said yes. So.
Nice. And and then a great dinner at Uchi afterward.
The best.
Got
dinner at
extremely
Uchi.
drunk. Did not have drinking buddy back then.
No.
So I remember like the next morning being so hungover on the airplane. Like I had to wake up even earlier because I hadn't packed yet, but it was so much fun. And honestly, the next weekend's almost an even better engagement story. So
We had 2 engagements,
Nice.
2 proposals, rather.
That makes sense.
so I went up to Philly. I'm having to like compare court. It's like the most stressful thing I've ever gone through. They're like interrogating you. All of a sudden you feel like this, terrible person. You start doubting your whole life. And I remember calling Brian. I'm like, I need you to fly up to Philly. Like I was going to be there for 2 weeks too. Like
Oh wow.
normally they settle, that didn't settle. So Brian ends up flying up that weekend on like a Friday. Progressive had to like put me in a hotel. So we're staying downtown, and I'm like, well, Brian loves baseball. Why don't we make this fun and we'll get tickets to a Phillies game? So we go to a Phillies game. We tailgate. A bunch of my family comes out.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that-
and to back it up a little bit, obviously we were engaged. We're FaceTiming, calling all of our family, friends, telling them about how we gotten engaged. And like a couple days after the engagement, Jacqueline's up in Philly having a tough time, and her uncle texts me, and he was like, hey, crazy idea, but would you want to propose again to Jacqueline at the Phillies game?
Oh, nice.
baseball
So I'm
game.
sure they give you like a really. It's like saying it's your birthday at a restaurant. I'm sure.
Right.
totally.
Yeah. And so I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, hell yeah. Like, we're doing this. Let's do it. So we got tickets to the ball game. Her aunts, uncles, some cousins were out there. We had a small tailgate, and her uncle had gotten this like black onyx
Crazy
ring
looking ring.
from his neighbor, just like a
Well,
fake ring.
apparently, my Uncle Larry is running around his neighborhood frantically asking everybody if they can lend out their engagement ring for him to give to his niece's fiance to borrow to repropose. Obviously, everyone's like not going to take their ring off their finger.
Oh, totally.
So one of the neighbors lends him this like wild looking black onyx ring.
So I have the ring in my back in my pocket. We go into the game, and I had gotten contact info from one of like the event coordinators with the Phillies, and she's like, okay, like, here's the seats you're sitting in. Into the 4th inning, you're going to see a camera person like come down a little bit in front of you all to like be filming, and then you're going to see a sign on the jumbotron, and at that point you're going to hear some music too. Stand up, do your proposal. So I stand up, I grab Jacqueline's hand. The camera person comes up and is like right in our face.
Nice.
And we'd gotten engaged 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So Jacqueline's like, what the hell is going on?
Well, at first I thought, oh, Brian's like having them announce that we got engaged. They're playing like Here Comes the Bride.
Oh.
But the next thing you know, he's like on his knee. He's now like showing me this ring. I was heavily involved in the design of our engagement ring, and now here's this like wild looking like black thing. I'm like, what's going on? So then I started having a panic attack that we were like surprised getting married
Oh.
at the Phillies game. I'm like, what?
So I dropped to a knee, asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
She says yes. The crowd's going crazy. They had some staff there with mini champagne bottles
how
and like
fun.
throwing confetti on us, and it
Oh,
was
fun.
a lot of fun.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, milk, like like I said, like saying it's your birthday at a restaurant. I'm sure they
Totally.
gave you something cool. It's probably a good video to just have forever.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a great video.
Nice. Wait, did you have your engagement ring on while
I did.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually not wearing it right now. But yeah, so I was like, the whole thing was like pretty confusing for me until I kind of figured out it was more or less a joke. But it was super, super fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. No, that's awesome. That's a really sweet story. And then, did y'all get married in Austin, or did you?
No, we ended up getting married in Mexico.
Oh,
Kind of.
nice.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so
you have
we went to the courts.
Yeah, you have to do
We
that.
had a day.
2 engagements, 2 weddings,
Nice.
you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we had to do it big. No, we went to the courthouse and had a photographer, and it was so nice to just kind of have that moment with us. You know, the judge, Jacqueline, me, the photographer, and it was just a really like sweet, intimate moment to get married. And then we went out, had a good time, did a little photo shoot. But then the big wedding was in Mexico.
Nice. What part?
San Miguel
Nice,
de
okay.
Allende. It's in the mountains.
Nice. Ooh.
It's beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Any family or any family like ties or anything like that to the area, or?
No, we had gone. A friend of ours, a friend of Jacqueline's, who she used to work with, they got married in the same town, and so 6 months into us dating, we were invited to their wedding.
Oh,
We went
nice.
down to San Miguel, and it's really, I say it's like the city where we fell in love. You know, truly fell in love. And so, yeah, it was super special for us to be able to go back there and get married.
Nice. I love that.
Honestly, it was just like the most fun wedding we'd ever been to. I love that it was a destination.
We're a little biased, but
No, Colleen's wedding.
Colleen's
Colleen
wedding,
Dallas
the first
wedding.
one, yeah.
Yeah, you like the city's so magical. It's like you're in like a Disneyland of sorts. It's like a World UNESCO Heritage Site. And they had like 3 days of parties. They had like a pool party with like a DJ where it was like super wild. And then the wedding, and like there's just so many different times to, like meet different people. So by the time you get to the wedding, even like you just felt like you knew everyone. And then at the wedding, they did this thing called like La Hora Loco, where every hour on the hour after like 10 p.m., like wild things came out to the dance floor, like either like costumes or hats to put on or like just different things. And it kind of kept the party like alive, and it was so much fun. And I remember being like, damn, I would love to do something like that.
Nice. Nice.
Right? It was a blast.
It was a blast, yeah. Yeah. We took a lot of their ideas, and
I know. I was like, Colleen, I hope you don't care that we're like having your wedding part 2 years later, but it's kind of like full circle. By the time we got married in San Miguel, our friends who got married were like pregnant, having their baby. So they kind of had like their baby moon in the place where they got married. So it was a weird, perfect timing.
Nice. I'm just having 2 people here who are experienced daters with a success story and also know a thing or two about drinking. I've got a few dating and drinking related questions for our audience who does drink alcohol, answering all the questions related to drinking and dating. So I guess to start, how many drinks do you think are appropriate on a first date? Maybe looking back to your first date, which, was at somewhat of a bar. What's too many?
I guess how many drinks can you have before you're slurring your words? Like how many can you have and you're still like locked up, if that makes sense?
it does make sense, I think, regardless.
Oh.
I think 2 is the absolute limit
I want to
for
say
a first date.
I'm gonna say 3.
Okay. 2.5. No, I was always a big fan of like the going on a walk or the coffee date. I feel like if you can get to know somebody and have a connection, quote unquote soberly without that social lubrication, then it can go somewhere.
Wait.
Or if you have somebody who won't even agree to like the coffee date, it kind of seems like a red flag. But if you're going to a bar, I think 2 drinks on the first date, that's a safe benchmark.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying coffee and walk dates, but you asked me out for a drink on our first date. What does that mean?
I did. I'm not, at this moment, I do not recall the reason behind
Do what
that.
I say, not what I did.
Yeah.
What's
yeah,
that saying?
exactly.
Sometimes
But
it just lines up with schedules too. Like
Yeah.
coffee, like morning dates are kind of tough if you're 9 to 5.
Well,
Totally.
and like in December, it's like, hey, you gonna want to go walk the trail? It's like,
Ah.
well, it's 50 degrees outside, so no, you know. Yeah.
Nice. So if you do choose a bar, then what type of bars make the best first dates? Because obviously you don't want to go to some divey place where no one can talk. Like what do you guys think if you're gonna have a bar first date? What kind of bars are the right bars?
Like, I love Whistler's.
Mm.
That's like one of my favorites. I know it's like the basic B
Mhm.
Austin bar, but it's like not too loud, cool cocktails, can sit outside, have a conversation. I'm going to go with somewhere like that. Not too loud.
Not too loud. Somewhere where you could get a nice cocktail. You know, where the drinks are a little more elevated, for lack of a better term. But I also really like the sports bar too, because it
Mhm.
creates a little bit more of a relaxed vibe. But yeah, I would say stay away from the divey
Yeah.
loud bar, and somewhere where you can have a conversation and get to know
Yes.
the person.
Yes. Are you another fun one? Are you allowed to judge someone for their drink order?
Definitely.
Yes, 100%.
What drink orders did you guys judge?
No ordering seltzers at a bar.
Really?
Sorry,
I
for
agree.
me, I think that's weird. Like, get a cocktail or get a beer. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that.
Like, you're going to buy
I
a
think-
White Claw?
I think,
What?
yeah, no, getting a beer is always a safe bet for a guy. Any sort of whiskey drink, if it's too frou-frou, for lack of a better term, for the guy, that might be a little.
Are you dating
little bit of a
men,
turn off.
Brian?
I'm saying I would never do that.
Oh, okay.
The beer is always a good safe move.
I agree.
Yeah.
Is it okay if to order like a light beer, like just your typical American beer, Bud Light, Miller Lite, anything like that, or do you have to do something local and adventurous?
100% Lone Star. I think I had a couple Lone Stars
Nice.
Well,
on our first date.
I'm not judging you if you have like a domestic beer, but if I like went out with a guy and you ordered like a Michelob Light or something like that, or
Oh, yeah.
Ultra, I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Mhm. That's a golf beer. That's for the golf.
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. Michelob Ultra, that has a time and place. But yeah, your standard domestics,
Mhm.
Bud, Miller, Coors,
But my go-to is always ranch water. Can't go wrong with
ranch
that.
water. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's always a safe bet.
Always a safe bet. I agree with that. Is it a cheap move to go on your first date during happy hour? Intentionally saying, "Hey, let's go for happy hour instead of another time," or are you supposed to go outside happy hour? Or
I think if you're calling that out, yeah, I could see how that could be a little cheap move.
Mhm.
If it just so happens to be happy hour.
Mhm.
Well, here's a scenario. You're at happy hour. If the time runs out and they're still ordering drinks, like, you got to roll with it.
Yeah.
Anyone's like being weird or set to a time limit.
Hey, happy hour's over. We got to get going.
My big thing with dates is if a guy doesn't pay, like, immediately a no.
Mhm.
We're not going out again. For like the first couple dates. That to me was always like a red flag.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm curious what other people think about that.
It's
Who
so
pays? It's a debate.
such a
Who
debate, and
pays?
I feel like it's become more of a debate now, just because of like TikTok and people just getting
Oh,
real
really?
riled up. Yeah, I don't know what it is, because I feel like growing up, and I don't know if it's people, my audience, or everyone's getting older, where it's kind of like people are going, "What's the point?" But I remember when I was younger, early 20s, and dating, it was never. I never had an experience of like, oh shoot, like they want me to split the date.
Yeah.
And then now I feel like I hear more discourse, or like, female friends saying like, I throw my card in and say like, I want to pay half, so there's no expectations. And it's interesting, like, that there's sort of like this discourse around it now.
Yes.
I always had people pay. I never went on any extravagant first dates where I think it
No,
would feel
yeah.
like too much of a loss if it went nowhere. But yeah.
I think the ideal situation is the woman offers,
Mhm.
could make an offer or
No.
make some sort of
Let me
gesture.
tell you what
The
my
purse
No, no, no,
pump
no,
fake
I'm just-
move
I'm
is what
just-
I've called that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and if the guy takes you up on it, should not happen.
Yeah.
But
Well, Wait, you're
From my
not gonna like my
perspective,
move.
from my perspective, I think it's like, okay, hey, like, don't worry about it. I got this first one. I asked you out on the date. I'm covering this. If the woman
You're not
makes
saying that out loud though. That's like
if the
going through
woman
your
makes a
head.
half-hearted oh, do you want me to, and she's fumbling around in her purse like waiting for you to stop her. I think that's a nice like medium ground, making the offer but then saying no, thank you, but I got it.
The way I handled it, I think this is the best way to handle it. If you have the perspective of if they're gonna ask you to pay, you're not going out with them again anyway. When the check comes, you just say thank you. Don't even pretend like you're gonna pay. And then what are they gonna do? Ask you to pay after you just thanked them? No.
I think it would send a strong message
Yeah.
if they did. Because I do think
Just
like there's some.
thanks.
It's a weird song and dance too. Because sometimes like the
Yeah.
guy will accept it because he's just like, oh shoot, she wants to, or she's not having fun. It's such a strange
an
song
awkward
and
thing.
dance. Like it's one of those like social
It is.
awkwardness.
But when
things.
he has to like grab the check first,
Uh-huh.
and then you're just like, hey, thank you, really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just end it at that. Like, don't pretend to like pay, unless you want to. But I feel like
No, I want to.
I feel like if I paid, I wouldn't want to go out with you again.
This is the problem though. Dating is such a game.
It's so interesting too, and there's little like weird nuancy things, and so many little like social things that can
Yeah.
get missed. Like, is someone being polite? Are they having fun? Like, some people are just more animated than others. Some people, it's so interesting. Like the little social things,
Yeah.
and things people probably couldn't even articulate, even if they were being 100% honest about their feelings. Like,
Totally.
it's so interesting. Just something I've learned kind of doing all this.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, do you feel like you have a connection?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's being reciprocated? And then going from there. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why we were able to click is that I didn't feel like either one of us were playing games.
No games.
Did you feel that way?
No.
I felt like I was pretty upfront, honest, without being like,
I mean, you took forever
Too
to ask me
open.
out. I remember being like, what the hell? But other than that, no.
Nice.
well,
Changing locations. If you go to a bar, you having a good time?
First date?
Yes, you say you're having a good time. Bars next to a lot of other bars, as a lot of bars are. Is it too much too fast to go to the next spot, or is it a good move to say, hey, what's across the street?
if you're hitting it off, 100%. I feel like why
I don't know. That kind of like sets you up.
break it off early?
Things to
if-
escalate. I'm like, break it up early, call it if it's a good thing, reconvene if it really was.
I get that.
The marathon.
But if you're at the first place for like 30, I don't know,
Why
40,
would you be there?
45,
Because happy
45
hour ended,
minutes.
you had to leave early.
Yeah, exactly. When the happy hour ends, you go to the next place with the happy hour. Yeah, no, I think if you're there for like 2 hours and then you want to go somewhere else, it's like, all right, just call it. You had a good time, meet up again. But no, I don't see any issue going to another place.
Nice. Yeah, some people recommend changing locations. Others say like that's the marathon first date. You don't want to do that. So I feel like people are divided on that one.
I feel like
as
it
well.
also, it's like, what's your stance on like hooking up on the first date? If
That's one of those situations that
Not
probably
for me. Yeah.
Once you're comfortable walking to one place, you might be comfortable
Totally.
walking somewhere else.
totally.
So, yeah, and I think that's why some people are opposed to it. What is a game plan if you go on a date and you drink a few too many and maybe you worry you embarrassed yourself? What happens the next day? How do you recover from it? Not just with drinking buddy, not just taking your drinking
no
buddy,
recovery.
No. But yeah, you say something maybe over the line or a little too friendly.
Has that ever happened to you?
Not on a first date, no. I've never had that situation, but I'm trying to imagine being in that situation, and I feel like you blew it to an extent, and you kind of just have to cut your losses.
Yeah.
You have to cut your
I mean,
losses. If
I
the person
agree.
drinking too much, and it seems like they weren't able to control, because I have my 2-drink rule. If they weren't able to control it on that first round, then it's probably like, all right, we're probably on different wavelengths.
Yeah.
But you might have 2 party animals that are getting together, and it's like, hey, if that works for you,
Yeah.
go for
I
it.
think what ends up happening, like whenever I think about a hangover, physical hangover, it's fine. You can take stuff to like help you out. The moral hangover, is a really long, big thing and we can't help you with that.
Drinking can't do everything.
So if you get too drunk on your first date, your moral hangover, I think, is going to eat you alive inside, and I don't know if you'll ever be able to bounce back from that. Like, you can send, if someone like doesn't have it and they're like next morning like, LOL, sorry, night got away from me, maybe you can come back, but people get in their head too much, and I don't know.
Yeah. And obviously too many drinks is something that exists on a spectrum.
Yeah.
There's, someone who is self-conscious because they giggled a little too loud. And then there's somebody who, bumped into a waiter and spilled a bunch of drinks and then told someone to go F themselves. So there's a scale.
Yes.
But kind of the options, do you, you drink too many, you like the other person, you would like to see them again. Do you act like it didn't happen?
No.
Do you laugh it off? Or do you apologize profusely in a way that's thoughtful, or D, something else?
B, I'm like writing back, LOL, sorry about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give me another shot.
Where my mind goes is like, oh my gosh, had a great time. Might have taken it over the limit a little bit, but had so much fun. Would love to do it again.
Nice.
And then the ball is in their court.
Yep. And then, they might, drinking buddy can't save you there.
Drinking buddy cannot save you there.
But they will save your hangovers.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think what were my other questions. I'm going through all the drinking related questions. Do you, what are your feelings on, you see someone you're not on a date, you see someone attractive from across the bar, you're at the bar with your friends, do you offer to buy people drinks? Like, do you recommend that? Hey, can I buy you a drink? Or at what point would you?
You mean like when you're single, trying to
you're
pick
single,
somebody up?
Single, trying to meet somebody, you see they're attractive, you'd like to start a conversation with them. Do you lead with in any way, hey, can I buy you a drink? Or does that come into the conversation at all? Or I guess,
I feel like this is directed more towards me, unless you've
or
I
vice
have
versa,
a story
or saying buy me a drink.
You, but you go first.
Yes, I've done that move in the past, and the one time I'm thinking of, the girl politely said, "Thank you, but no thank you," and then I had to walk away with tail between my legs. But
so before I met Brian, I used to travel like internationally for work. We were in Germany for this like trade show. We're staying at this like swanky hotel that had like a nightclub on the top. So I'm there with all my coworkers, and there was like this cute blonde German guy like across the bar, but it was packed. And I kid you not, I like did this like fake lasso, like kind of as a joke, but then he caught it like a fish, and I like lassoed him over. But then by the time he got over to me, like I realized he was like 21 years old, like 10 years younger than me, extremely good looking, and didn't speak any English. And I just like panicked. And all my coworkers were like, "Are you gonna talk to him?" Like I don't know. I don't know where to go with this from here.
So step one, Step one accomplished, but then we really didn't think past reeling them in.
It was like early on in my job too. It was within like the first 6 months of working there. So from there, like every time we're traveling, my coworkers are like, "Are you gonna do anything weird tonight?" I'm like, "Well, it didn't really work out the first time, but
I feel and I feel like so much in dating, people like throw out these like big fun Hail Marys with no plan at all, and then it's like they take the bait. You're like, oh no, now what?
Like, I never thought it was gonna work, right? Yeah. Like I'm like, this cute guy's actually gonna like pretend to be a fish and like walk over to me? No way, no way.
Oh my gosh, that's so silly. And then y'all had like a good like love, good love story kind of. Yeah, it seems like it all worked out in the end.
Oh, I caught the best fish of all.
Best fish.
Oh,
I love it.
Aww.
And you got your good girl.
I got my good girl. Yeah.
Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
I love that. That must be a fun team to support. I feel like
it's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm biased. I mean, we weren't the best this year, but we're in the last couple years. But such a fun place to go back, tailgate, have a couple drinks, go into the stadium. My brother actually got married there too last year, and they had the reception in the stadium.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
And then the after party was in the concourse, like where you normally get snacks. They were like serving drinks out of there. So we partied till like late there. I remember my feet were like all like black because obviously I wasn't wearing my shoes, but it was a blast.
Yeah, that was a great party.
Nice. No, that's awesome. I feel like a good sports team to root for together is always a fun thing to have. I'm like looking at the clock, and this has been a great conversation. But we're about to like come up on time. yeah, like where can we find, I know we've talked about where we can find Drinking Buddy. What kind of like parting words can you leave us with as far as, finding Drinking Buddy, which can help your hangovers physically, not necessarily the moral hangovers, but maybe we'll figure something out for that. Yeah, where can we find Drinking Buddy? Anything else you want to call out on the way out?
Yeah, no, I guess one more point to call out on Drinking Buddy. Like we mentioned before, Jacqueline had mentioned, it does help you feel about 50% the next day. For me, when I drink, it'll take like 4 to 5 drinks off of what I had the night before. So I think one of the challenges in promoting a product like this is people have all these different ideas of like of what the product is going to do for them. It's not a silver bullet. You need to understand that this is for a person who is interested in their health, who still likes to go out and have a good time, have a few drinks, but wants to make their yoga class in the morning or go for that early morning run, or has that 8 a.m., 9 a.m. meetings that they need to be on their A game for. So, yes, this will help you with that. If you're going out and having 10 plus drinks, this will help, but you're still going to be feeling some effects the next morning.
Yeah, no, and I can imagine, but yeah, I think this sounds like super helpful. Like especially if you're like a traveling salesperson, like you're always doing the whining and dining, and you gotta
have the happy hours. The happy hours are going to come up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And usually, I say knock on wood. I've been to some interesting happy hours for work, but typically people keep things in check, and then you do have an early morning, so you take this and you're good to go. Yeah,
and it's a nice compact package, fits nicely in a luggage, super light. I love it. I'm excited to probably Super Bowl weekend. I'll be using my Drinking Buddy, or Valentine's weekend.
100%.
One or the other.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're going out on first dates, second dates, no matter how many cocktails, like 1 or plus, take it before bed. It makes you feel better the next day. And yeah, I think the hardest thing about it is just remembering to take it. So I keep it on my nightstand, and find us on Amazon or drinkingbuddy.com.
Nice. Yeah. Everyone get Drinking Buddy. It's been great having you as my drinking buddies. We're drinking with deaths, but I can't thank you guys enough for coming on today. It's always great to talk to, couples and hear their love story.
This
learn
has
what
been
it's like
great.
To be partners, and hopefully this is your first of many.
We'd love to come back.
Yeah, anytime, and appreciate having you here. And I'll over and out for everybody. Everyone, it's been good chatting. We'll see you next time.